Everyone, this is Jamal Thomas from Progressive Soapbox, www.progressivesoapbox.org. So, today I want to do a video called How to Read the News 101. With all the talk of like fake news going around, and you know, with the parties and everything else, Democrats are howling at the moon about Russia hacking the election. I found that the intermingling of the two makes a pretty good idea for a video. So I'm reading this article, the FBI now backs CIA assessment that Russia deliberately tipped the election in favor of Trump. So the first thing on my list in regards to reading the news is, one, be skeptical. Be skeptical of everything you read. Most of the people who are writing something have a perspective. It's just the lens in which they use. Now, I believe everybody has a bias to some degree, and as long as they recognize it, it's not necessarily bad, and it may even add a certain perspective of the story that's interesting and that's new. But you got to be aware of it, and as a reader, you have to kind of look at this thing and say, all right, I'm skeptical. Does the CIA have anything to do with, have any evidence that Russia hacked any of these systems? I don't know. I mean, the honest to God truth is I don't know. And nobody does. Now, if they have evidence, they're going to have to show that evidence at some point. When they show it, then we can assess whether or not that evidence is legit. But right now, it's just in limbo. It's a question mark at best. Be skeptical. Yeah, be skeptical. I don't know, it's not a bad word. And well, it's not a single word anyway. But I don't know, it's not a bad thought. So the second one, context. Context. You read a story, it gives you a particular perspective. You leave from that with that perspective, not realizing that there's a greater narrative in the story itself. Again, go back to this article. So Obama, at the end of the article, towards the end, is talking about essentially attacking Russia. He's openly talking about it. Our goal continues to be to send a clear message to Russia or others not to do this because we can do this stuff to you, Obama said. But it is also important that in a thoughtful, methodical way, some of it we would do publicly, some of it we would do in a way that they know, but not everybody will. Go ahead, Obama! Big Daddy! Look at that spine. Oh, we're gonna get him. You made our baby lose. We're gonna, you hawk it out now. He never hawked out against those Republicans. He folded like a cheap suit. Why are you fomenting this with Russia? That should be the key point. And when you look at that statement, you gotta have context. So let's hear another one. So this one is from Congressman Ron Wyden. And Ron Wyden, he's feeling himself. This is a national crisis that must be fully explained to the American people right now. At this very moment, at this very millisecond, bisecond, right at this very instant. When a foreign nation interferes with our elections, delays and closed doors investigations are not enough. We cannot continue to sweep this under the rug or wait until just before Inauguration Day before leaving the public. You know, I find it interesting that they don't address the systemic issues to our election issues here. They're attacking Russia. And also, you know, again, context. Iraq. We just invaded Iraq and toppled their government. Does that not count? I mean, yeah, it's not a computer hack, but it's a hell of a lot worse when you kill 1 million people and spend $6 trillion. It's as if they think that this stuff just doesn't exist. It's like, oh, it was history, it's back in time, and that just disappears. No. Physical matter reality has a memory. And we attacked the country and deposed their government. What about Libya? We did the same thing in Libya. I mean, hell, man. Guatemala, the Congo, South Vietnam, Brazil, Chile. We tried to kill Fidel Castro like 60 sometimes. What are these guys talking about? Context. Context is everything, man. When you're reading that, somebody could have walked away from that story with a poor idea of context, not knowing any of the other stuff that I just mentioned. They would think that Russia was essentially a rogue nation trying to hack into people's accounts. So the third and last thing, neutrality versus objectivity. So there's a difference. Oftentimes, CNN and these infotainment channels, for the most part, are neutral. Meaning, no matter what's said, for the most part, they take no point of view, or they try to take no point of view. For example, Bush administration talks about torture. Instead of calling it torture, they call it enhanced interrogation. That's their word. The New York Times takes that word and uses that word, knowing full well that it's torture. New York Times then started using that word, then stopped using that word and started using torture until, if I believe correctly, I think it's like 2007, but it was the late 2000s. The late 2000s, like up until 2010. I mean, you have to have the ability to say that's torture. And you have to be able to read what's being said and say, hey, that sounds like torture. Like, I know they're saying enhanced interrogation, but I don't know what that means. I don't know what enhanced interrogation means. It sounds like torture. You gotta read between the lines. And all of these things literally go together. They're interwoven. You gotta be skeptical of what's being said. You gotta have context of what's being read. And you gotta understand the perspective of the person who's giving the information. Because they're not taking a position sometimes. Sometimes they're just reading the news. I mean, did an article. But they're not taking a position whether it was right, wrong, or anything in between. They're just saying, look, this is what happened. News shows like CNN, again, they give out infotainment, not necessarily taking a position. And the problem is, these guys have all the resources in the world to be able to take a position, have an honest one, and say, look, this is the truth of the matter. These guys are lying to you. Or this guy's right and this guy's wrong, or vice versa. Where are all the CNN resources going to? Those stupid bulletin boards that they have on election day? If you want to be a real news channel, get to the truth. I mean, you're taking it as network news, but it's not news. It's infotainment. Look, I think it's like 6 media companies own all of our mainstream media. That's it. And these guys have multinational corporations that have a vested interest in not having certain things aired because it hurts their profits. When you're looking at the news and the media and stuff like that, you also have to keep that into account. Be skeptical. Context, context, context. Neutrality versus objectivity. Alright guys, I hope that helps.